The dust of Kurukshetra had not yet settled, but already it whispered of destiny. As the sun climbed the sky like a silent witness, two armies stood face to face, brothers, cousins, teachers, and students, all bound by threads of blood and betrayal. A tension hummed in the air, alive and unrelenting. Arjuna stood atop his chariot, his breathing steady but heavy, as his gaze fell on the ocean of warriors stretching before him. Beside him stood Krishna Hrishikesha, the charioteer of the gods, the master of senses, the eternal witness. He held the white reins loosely in his fingers, but his eyes were piercing, calm, all-knowing. Suddenly, the silence shattered. Panchajanya, the conch of Krishna, roared through the skies. It was no ordinary conch. It was born from the bones of the demon Panchajanya, a symbol of conquest over darkness. Its sound was thunderous, divine, echoing across the valley like a divine alarm clock awakening the soul. Arjuna, known as Dhananjaya, lifted his conch Devadatta and blew it with such force that the ground beneath him seemed to shiver. The sound was deep, noble, full of purpose. Bhima Vrikodara, the wolf-bellied, followed next. He lifted his mighty conch Pandra and blew it with the wrath of 100 storms. The blast was terrifying, as if a beast had been unleashed. Soldiers turned their heads. Birds scattered. Hearts trembled. Arjuna looked at his brother and smiled faintly. Even the gods will hear that one. Bhima grunted. Let them listen. We fight for Dharma, not survival. But deep in their hearts, they all knew this battle wasn't just about righteousness. It was about pain, pride, and promises broken. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, stood proud in his chariot. He wasn't a warrior known for wrath or vengeance. He was justice made flesh, yet his heart today was full of sorrow. Ahead, he saw his teacher, Dronacharya, the one who had taught him the bow, and there, Bhishma, his grandfather, the pillar of virtue. Still, he lifted his conch Ananta Vijaya, the endless victory, and blew it with trembling hands but unwavering spirit. The sound was regal. It carried the weight of ancient vows and noble dreams. Nakula and Sahadeva stood side by side, their chariots gleaming like twin stars. They were the youngest of the Pandavas, but their hearts burned just as fierce. Brother, said Nakula, gripping his conch Sughosha, do you feel it? Yes, Sahadeva replied, raising his conch Manipushpaka. The silence before a scream, and they blew their conches together harmonious, haunting. It was the sound of youth facing its darkest hour. All around them, soldiers cheered, banners rose, the earth shook with the echo of resolve. But inside Yudhishthira's heart, something cracked. Is this the only way? He whispered. Krishna turned just slightly and said, sometimes even Dharma wears armor. The king of Kashi, a mighty archer with fire in his veins, stood at the front line. He raised his conch and blew into it, the sound slicing through the air like an arrow. Beside him stood Shikhandi, his eyes fierce, his past bleeding into the present, a warrior who had suffered insult and rebirth, who had returned not just for war but for justice. His conch was not loud, but it was sharp like a whisper before a strike. Drishtadyumna, commander of the Pandava army and son of Drupada, followed with a blast so fierce that it startled even the horses. Born from fire for this very war, he carried destiny in his sword. Virata, the king who had sheltered the Pandavas in exile, raised his conch, his hands shaking, not from fear but memory. They hid in my palace as servants, he thought, and now they lead armies. Satyaki, undefeated, unbending, loyal to Krishna, blew his conch with the pride of 1,000 victories. His voice boomed with his conch, for Krishna, for Dharma. Their sounds layered over each other like waves crashing into cliffs, unyielding, relentless. Together, they were a chorus of courage, an anthem of resistance. Drupad, father of Draupadi, stood still for a moment. His old hands caressed the conch. He had lost a son. He had seen kingdoms rise and fall. Now he prepared to lose more. For you, daughter, he said, for your honor. He blew his conch with a father's pain and a warrior's pride. Then came the sons of Draupadi brave, youthful, eager, unaware of how short their time would be. Each raised his conch and blew, trying to outdo the other. They laughed, they shouted, for our mother. But somewhere behind their innocence was a shadow. Krishna saw it, Arjuna felt it, and finally Abhimanyu, the son of Subhadra and Arjuna, barely 16, but fierce beyond measure. His conch was small, yet its sound was proud. Krishna looked at him. You burn bright, young lion. Abhimanyu grinned. Then I light the battlefield. But none of them knew how quickly stars fall. As the final echoes of conches roared over the field, the sky darkened, not with clouds, but with silence. Across the field, the Kaurava army stood, still and cold. Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Shakuni, Duryodhana all heard the thunder of the Pandava call, and yet none trembled. Duryodhana smirked. So the cowards blow horns to hide their fear? But Karna narrowed his eyes. That was not fear, that was fire. Bhishma closed his eyes, and the fire of Dharma is always hardest to extinguish. In the Pandava camp, Krishna held the reins steady. Now, he said, let us go to the center. Arjuna must see. The chariot moved slowly across the field. Arjuna's eyes met Bhishma's, then Drona's, then Karna's. His hands shook, his heart cracked. This is my family, he whispered. My teachers, my brothers, how can I kill them? Krishna said nothing. The conches had blown, the warriors had risen, but the battle inside Arjuna had just begun. On the chariot, Arjuna fell to his knees. I cannot, he cried. How can victory taste sweet if it comes with the blood of those I love? Krishna, say something, help me. Krishna's eyes softened. He had been waiting. Arjuna, he said gently, you are not the body, you are not even the mind, you are the soul, eternal, unborn, undying, and the soul cannot kill, nor can it be killed. But I feel pain, and pain is not your master, Dharma is. Arjuna looked up, trembling. Do you hear the conches still? Krishna asked. Arjuna nodded. They call not for blood, but for clarity, for you to remember who you are. And in that moment, something changed. Arjuna stood again, still torn, still afraid, but willing to listen. The war outside was about to begin, but the war within had already found its hero.